In this problem, I need to factor completely this trinomial here. Don't forget, the first thing you should always do is look for greatest common factors. Well, they don't all have a variable in common, and there is no numerical common factor between 3, 17, and 10. So what we're going to do is we're going to compare this to ax squared plus bx plus c. And so in this case, a is the coefficient of the x squared, it's 3. B is the coefficient of the x term, it is 17. And c is the constant term, so I think you can see that c equals 10. Well, what we do is we multiply a times c. So AC is 3 times 10, which is 30. That is the product we're looking for. We need two numbers that multiply to 30. So the product is 30, and B, which is 17, is the sum of the two numbers. So when I add them together, I'm going to get 17. Two numbers that multiply to a positive, it means the signs are the same, and since they add to a positive number, it says my two numbers are positive. So I'm going to start with 1 times 30. 1 times 30 is 30, but 1 plus 30 adds up to 31. That's not the sum I'm looking for. Does 2 go into 30? Yes, 2 times 15 is 30. And what's 2 plus 15? 17. Is that the sum that I'm looking for? Yes. So these two numbers are going to help me factor this trinomial. But be careful, these aren't the factors. What we're going to do is we're going to take this middle term, the 17x, and instead of writing 17x, we're going to write 2x plus 15x. So I'm going to break down my middle term up here into two terms. So I'm going to land up with 3x squared. Instead of 17x, I'm going to have plus 2x plus 15x plus 10. So now I've taken my trinomial and written it as 4 terms. So now, how are we going to factor these 4 terms? Well, remember, when you have 4 terms, you can factor by grouping. That means we're going to group the first 2 and the last 2 together. So what we do is we look at the first 2 terms and pull out the greatest common factor for just those 2 terms. Well, I think the only thing they have in common is an x. And what does that leave behind? It's going to leave you with a 3x plus 2. You always bring the middle sign down, so it's going to be plus. What do the last 2? What's the greatest common factor of just 15x and 10? Well, I think it's a 5. Okay, and what's that going to leave behind? Well, 5 divides into 15 3 times, so it's going to leave you with 3x, and 5 goes into 10 2 times. Now, factoring by grouping only works is if this binomial is the same as this one. Well, is it the same in this case? Yes. Therefore, everything worked out great. And now, the 3x plus 2 is the common binomial factor. And what does it leave behind? Well, it leaves an x plus 5. So there is my answer. And remember, how do we check it? Let's check it quickly by foiling. 3x times x is 3x squared. 3x times 5 is 15x. Whoops. 2 times x is 2x plus last term 2 times 5 is 10. And so adding the middle two terms together, do I get my original polynomial? Yes.